Okay, now, when discussing, all right, so these are the formulas for the unit tangent vector, the unit normal vector, and the binormal vector that is going to be associated with a curve in space. So what do these vectors really represent? Okay. So when I talk about the unit tangent vector, so let's say I've got a curve in space, and what is this vector really describing? Okay. So all right, I've got a curve in space. I'm going to try to draw the same curve for each one. So let's say this guy goes up like this. Okay. So in the past couple of videos, when I talked about finding the equation of a tangent line to a curve, well, the unit tangent vector, what's it going to describe? It's going to be the vector that is actually just going to be tangent to the curve, right? So this guy is going to lie tangent. I'm not supposed to do it below that. And it's going to, and what is meant by unit is that it's going to have a magnitude of 1, okay? So it's the tangent vector at that point, but it's divided by its magnitude, so it's going to be a unit tangent vector. Okay. Now, what is meant by a unit normal vector? Okay. Well, in the last class, we started talking about, well, maybe it was the last one. We talked about an equation of a plane in space. The equation of a plane in space is defined by its normal vector. Okay. So that normal vector has to be perpendicular to that plane in space. You can actually have normal planes of a curve as well. So a unit normal vector, draw the same curve. And we'll put that one right there. And this guy is going to point out perpendicular to that curve. So the difference between the unit tangent vector and the unit normal vector is that this guy is going to be perpendicular to the curve, whereas this guy is going to be tangent to the curve. Okay, corresponding with the slope, this is corresponding with perpendicular. But this is three-dimensional space. Okay, so when we talk about the binormal vector, what is this guy going to do? So the binormal vector is going to be the cross product of the tangent vector and the normal vector. Remember, whenever we're talking about the cross product of two vectors, the cross product of two vectors creates a vector that is going to be perpendicular to the plane that is spanned by those vectors. Okay? So the binormal vector so we have a tangent vector, we'll draw it out a little bit more. Let's go in this direction right here. We have our normal vector that is perpendicular. That's pointing in that direction right there. And the binormal vector is going to be going in this direction right here. And the binormal vector is going to be perpendicular to the plane spanned by the tangent and normal vector. Okay? So those are the three quantities that we have right there, just to describe the plane. So tangent, normal, and binormal at any point. Okay? And if you think about it, If you had n cross t cross, n of t cross t of t, that would just be the binormal vector in the opposite direction. All right? So, given a problem like this, why don't we try to find some of these quantities? Okay? It's probably going to take the rest of the class, but might not be able to finish it. Okay. Actually, we might just get some good expansion therapy. We'll start out that way. Okay, so let's find vector for, let's say, and this is going to be a general one, so it's going to be a unit tangent vector at any point. So, R of t, which is going to equal now t comma t squared 4. We'll start with the unit tangent vector. We get to the normal vector, normal vector, and binomial vector, we'll get that far. Maybe. Okay? So, remember the t of t is going to equal, this is going to be r prime of t divided by the magnitude of r prime of t. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to find r prime of t, and then we need to divide by its magnitude. Right? Well, what would r prime of t be? R prime of t, okay, so the derivative of t is just 1. That would be 2t, and the derivative of 4 is 0. Okay, so where would we get from this? We need to find the magnitude of r prime of t. Well, that would be square root of 1 squared plus 2t squared plus 0 squared. Would equal the square root 1 plus 4t squared. Okay, this first one's not too bad. So, that means that t of t, the unit tangent vector, would equal 1 comma 2t comma 0, now divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. And you know, it's easier to write it like this because we're going to have to take this derivative again. And comma 2t divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared, and then comma 0. Okay. So that's t of t. It's just r of t divided by the magnitude of r of t corresponding to any point. Okay. I think we have time to do this. This is going to be nasty. All right. We found the unit vector. Okay. Let's say, okay, find the normal vector. Unit normal vector. And so that's going to be n of t, which is going to equal t now prime of t divided by the magnitude of t prime of t. Yeah, so we can get rid of this one. Okay. So now I'm going to say, what is t prime of t? This is going to be the first step in finding the unit normal vectors of this curve. Okay. Well, the first one, remember we're taking the derivative, 1 divided, all right, so which one am I taking the derivative of first? I'm taking the derivative of this guy first. So that's really that guy to the negative 1/2 power, okay? So that's going to be, all right, well, negative 1 divided by 2, so it's 1 plus 4t squared times negative 3 over 2, and then multiplied by 8t, okay? And now the derivative of the next one, okay, is going to be the derivative of this guy right here. I'm going to have to use the quotient rule on this one to actually get this guy's derivative, okay? So, what is that going to come out to? That's going to be 2 times the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. That's f prime g, and then minus, okay, so that's going to be 2t. And I'm taking the derivative at the bottom, so that's going to be 1 divided by 2 times 1 divided, right there, the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. I'm not going to read that one. Actually, let me do this as 2 lines. Okay, so that's the x value. And so the y value would be f prime, which is 2, times 1 plus 4t squared. Okay. And we're going to divide by the bottom, which is going to be 1 plus 4t squared. But that was the square root, so we can get squared. Okay. Now minus, okay, and then that's f prime g minus f, which is 2t, times g prime, which would be 1 divided by 2, all right, and then 1 divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared, and then multiplied by 8t, okay, and 0. Okay, so if I want to simplify this out further, all right, negative 1/2 and 8t, that would equal, all right, 8 divided by 2, that's going to be now negative 4t divided by 1 plus 4t squared multiplied to the power of 3 over 2. Okay. Let's see what this next one looks like. So 2 divided by 2, they cancel each other out. And so t times t would give us 8t squared. So that would be, I think I can put that on one. So that would be now 2 to the square root of 1 plus 4t squared divided by 1 plus 4t squared. Okay. 2 divided by 2 will cancel each other out, but t divided by t is going to be minus 8t squared, like that, times 1 divided by root 1 plus 4t squared, okay? Then we got that 0 right there. Let's see what I can do with this thing. Let's say, we'll leave this first one alone. Negative 4t, and I'm not going to manipulate that guy at all. 4t squared to the 3 divided by 2. And I'm going to break this off into parentheses, and this is going to be, I'll do it in 2 steps. Square root of 1 plus 4t squared minus 8t squared divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. Okay? And then that's going to be multiplied by 1 divided by 1 plus 4t squared. Okay? And we'll put a 0 at the end. Okay, so what am I doing on this part of the problem? I'm just saying I don't want this 3-tiered fraction right here, so I'm going to pull the 1 plus 4t squared to the outside. And then say, all right, now how am I going to be able to manipulate this thing from here? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this guy by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared over the square root of 5. So, we'll leave this guy just out here by himself. Say negative 4t. Squared. Okay. And then I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to say, all right, this is going to be 2, and then the root, 1 plus 4. I'll do it on the line. Okay, so the next component, this is going to be comma, now 2 root 1 plus 4t squared times the square root of 1 plus 4t squared, now divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. Okay? And this is going to be minus 8t squared, divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. And then that's going to be multiplied by 1 divided by 1 plus 4t squared. And then I'm going to put 0 at the end. Okay? Those are my j's and k's values. And so when I multiply by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared times the square root of 1 plus 4t squared, the square roots cancel out and I get 1 plus 4t squared multiplied by 2. Okay? So that becomes, we'll leave this guy up here. That's negative 4t divided by 1 plus 4t squared to the 3/2 power. Okay? And so what are we going to get at the top of the next guy? That's going to be 2 plus 8t squared minus 8t squared divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. Okay? And that still has to be multiplied by 1 divided by 1 plus 4t squared. Okay? And we got a 0 right here. Okay, so we got the 8t squared and the 8t squared end up canceling each other out. So, and the square root of 1 plus 4t squared multiplied by 1 plus 4t squared ends up getting into a 3/2 power. So, we get down to this point right here where this is negative 4t divided by 1 plus 4t squared raised to the 3/2 power, and then 2 divided by 1 plus 4t squared raised to the 3/2 power, and 0. Okay, I can see some of y'all are writing questions right now. Let me finish the problem. Okay, so negative 4t, 1 plus 4t squared to the 3/2, 2 divided by 1 plus 4t squared to the 3/2 power. What are we actually calculating right now? Through all of this, we got t prime of t, okay? And remember, we're calculating n of t, and n of t is t prime of t divided by the magnitude of t prime of t. So now we have to calculate the magnitude of t prime of t. So the magnitude of t prime of t is going to equal now the square root. All right, so this is going to be negative 4t divided by 1 plus 4t squared to the 3/2. Now squared, I'm going to leave the 0 off. That's going to be 2 divided by 1 plus 4t squared raised to the 3/2, and all of that has to be squared. Okay. Okay, so that's going to equal the square root. Okay, so this is going to be 16t squared divided by 1 plus 4t squared cubed. Okay, now plus 4, now 1 plus 4t squared cubed. Okay. Then you can ask the question, well, where the hell are we going with this? Well, a common denominator at this point in the problem. So this would equal the square root of 16t squared plus 4, now divided by 1 plus 4t squared cubed. Okay, so I'm just putting them on one fraction. Okay, but what is 16t squared plus 4? I can pull a 4 out of that. Okay, so that would equal the square root. Now 4 times 4t squared plus 1 divided by 1 plus 4t squared cubed. Okay, so that 1 plus 4t squared right there, and the cubed root right there, that'll cancel out, that'll turn that into a 2, okay? And so this thing is going to equal, now 2 divided by 1 plus 4t squared. All right, so now we have to calculate n of t. And so, y'all might have to slow this video down and watch it on YouTube. So n of t will equal, right, so this would be negative 4t divided by 1 plus 4t squared to the 3/2 power, and 2 divided by 1 plus 4t squared to the 3/2 power, comma 0. Okay? And then this is going to be divided by 2 divided by 1 plus 4t squared. Okay. Now, if I flip this fraction upside down and I put the 1 plus 4t squared onto the top of this, what I'm going to be left with on the bottom is going to be just a square root of 1 plus 4t squared. Okay. And if I divide negative 4t by 2, I'm going to get negative 2. If I divide 2 by 2 by 2, I'm going to get a 1. All right? So what does this thing come out to? This comes out to, after all of this work, negative 2t, comma 1, comma 0, and then divided by the square root of 1 plus 4t squared. Okay? So that's the unit normal vector of this problem.